Welcome to Recovery, the Whole Enchilada, a podcast dedicated to exploring the many layers of healing and growth within the recovery community. I'm your host, Peg McDermott, along with my co-host,
Heather Hageman.
Together, Heather and I share conversations that honor the complete recovery experience. And today's conversation is about finding purpose after recovery, during recovery, and after recovery, right? I was pretty purposeless when I was in the middle of my hellish disease. I have found that my purpose evolved as I got sober. And my purpose was more about how much money can I make? How good will this make me look? It was very external focused. And it really wasn't about any kind of humility. It wasn't about anything that we have learned in this time. It was all about what I believe our society teaches us to worship. And that's what I was worshiping, and along with alcohol. And I tell you, it did not fulfill me. And I learned from that no matter how much money I was making, no matter how good things looked on the outside, if it wasn't filling me up, none of it mattered. It didn't matter how much money I had in the bank. It didn't matter who I was seeing. It didn't matter where I lived or what I drove, because that same emptiness was always there. And if anything, it got bigger. The more I thought certain things like a promotion, getting at a certain station in life would finally fill that emptiness. And it never did. And when that wasn't happening, I got very frightened. And the more frightened I got, because I thought, well, what's the purpose? If I'm going to slug through life feeling like I'm rudderless, if you will, I'm just going to start drinking myself into oblivion. And it was ironic because the more success I did achieve, the more I drank.
Yeah. Totally hear you, Peg. I think this is a really important conversation that we're having. I think purpose matters tremendously in recovery. And I think that reconnecting with purpose will support healing and it will create a meaningful life. And it's funny how, yes, that carrot in front of me was always driving me to think, okay, when I get this, I'm going to feel happy. When I get that, I'm going to feel happy. All externally focused. There was no inner life. And it was always like, look good on the outside. You have all the those credentials behind your name. MACIAYT, RY 500. I mean, just all these different things behind our names. And it's going to make me happy. Oh, but let's do the personal route. Let's get married, have the wedding, have the wedding shower, have the honeymoon, then have the babies, and have the house, and then have the dog, and have all these other things that are supposed to be. If I plug into this, I'm going to be happy, Peg. I'm going to be happy. But just like you said, there was inside of me, I didn't know what mattered to me, really. I didn't know what made me feel alive or aligned with. I mean, truly having children, having a dog helped, children helped me. But ultimately, I still was not sure because I did not live in integrity, which builds self-trust and purpose. I was lying to myself a lot about everything. And one of the things I had to look at, I think, in early recovery is like, what did I dream about before addiction? And who are my role models in recovery or in life? Like, I had to start like really kind of doing an inventory of what is it? What am I doing here? What is my purpose? Now, I will tell you that I've had a great father, and I've talked about him before, the general. He believed purpose was to be of service and kind of drilled that into my head early on, that we need to help others. You know, we're Americans, we're fortunate, and we give back. And so in my not fullness, my cup was empty. I would give and help and do everything I could to help other people at the cost of my own happiness. So
Mm-hmm.
there's that side as well, right? I mean, my purpose is making you happy. My purpose is helping you. And I'm very focused on how can I make your world better. And I did that a lot with my own kids, but which makes sense, right? But it trickled out into my friendships. And I was always seeding to prevent resentments because I was always giving so much and nothing was really coming back. Yeah.
Yeah. That's yeah, and I don't think that's why we're here. I do believe we're here to fulfill a purpose. And I felt like the further away from that purpose I got, the emptier I felt. And when I got sober and I had my priorities straightened out for me, and that's the beauty of sobriety, is that you do start realizing what's important in your life. And of course, there's nothing wrong with success and material wealth and the things that make life easier, as long as it's not my master. And it was. And the lead in my life is my higher power. And I believe when I get aligned with what I'm supposed to be doing here, then everything follows. But there's no amount of money that can really fill that fulfillment bucket if that's what I'm using as my master, as money. And I believe God understands. My higher power, whom I choose to call God, understands that we live in a world where money is needed, but it's an energy exchange. And I definitely made it so much more than that. I made it a measure of my worth. I made it a measure of how I was perceived. So perception management was huge. And when I got into recovery, it helped to open up some space in my mind to reconnect with and allow authentic interests to come forward, because they were always there. It was just my job to really learn what they were. And I wasn't able to do that with all of the layers of superficiality I was putting in front of it, including alcohol. It made me look at what are my values and what is it that fulfills me and just brings me joy and lights me up. And I really had to look at that because I never looked at it before. I didn't know what joy was. I'd not felt joy when I was drinking, and even before I got sober. And today I can say I do feel joy. It's not a constant in my life, but it's those moments when I'm like, wow, that's a beautiful sunset. Or, God, I just love it when my dog Riley just sits there and stares at me and just is so happy when I come home. It's those sweet moments that work for me.
Yeah. I was thinking how with this father motivating me to be of service. So I think a lot of what I honed in on, and I'm very grateful for, is I did help a lot of people, even when I was in my drinking career. I mean, I've gone back to college reunion and high school reunions, and people, when I'm thinking I was just a mess, people were saying, "Oh my gosh, do you remember how much you helped me with this and how much you helped me with that?" I mean, it was very hard for me to believe because I put mine in that category that I was this drunk, but I wasn't just this drunk. I was a very loving, caring, really good friend to people. And so with that information, as I went along, I thought, what can I do? I was working for a defense contractor at the time. Actually, what I was doing when I graduated from college is I thought, I'm going to work at a bar, and my parents can't complain anymore because she got her degree. This is what her college degree got her. She's at a bar. But then finally that got old at 25, and I ended up working for this defense industry because my dad was in it and he got me a job there. And as I was going along, I still was so unhappy. I just didn't know what I was doing. I knew there had to be more. And I thought, what if I decide to get a master's in psychology since I'm really seem to be good at this? And so I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to be a psychotherapist. I've got my master's and my company paid for it, which I think is pretty amazing. And then as I started to understand psychology and look at all this stuff, I started realizing, wow, if I'm going to do this as a job, I better sure as hell, excuse my language, so sorry, but I better sure as heck get with a therapist, because I had tried so many and I had such disdain because I thought none of them worked. So here I'm going to go into a career that I don't even believe in. I better believe in this. So finally, when I found that therapist 13, who was unbeknownst to me in recovery herself, and and it started to work for me, then I started to believe that I could actually go this route. And then I got moved over to the yoga therapy world, which was another route that really opened me up, because I found a way of living that didn't say I was defective and damaged. It said I've never been those things, that I've never been broken, and that and that the philosophy just aligned with the way I envisioned myself, that I've just had this dysregulated nervous system, and the practices of yoga can really help me to really step up and be the woman that I've always wanted to be. And body, mind, and breath, that was pretty much what helped me. So I think I was able to take the service, reduce the shame, because I couldn't hold it, when I was in active addiction. I began to build connection and accountability, and it really reinforced my desire to help others, especially others that were trying to get sober like me. And so one of the first things I started to do to find a purpose, at least in the recovery rooms, is I started leading meetings. I started helping other people, sponsoring people, mentoring people. I started speaking. So it was just bit by bit, it started to unfold. It's not really like it's a destination. It's like a practice. So even these small acts of showing up sober, being kind, listening, were deeply purposeful for me. And there's a quote I came across, like, your story is medicine, your recovery is a gift, not just for you, but for the world.
Mm.
And so I love the way it all kind of merged itself and evolved into where I am today, because I am so amazed that I found my soul's purpose. I'm living my Dharma, and Dharma is this life's purpose in Sanskrit. I'm living and breathing, and every day I wake up and I know this is what I'm supposed to do every day.
Mm.
And I think that's amazing that this journey has led to this point in my life. Now, when did I get this? In my 60s, okay? I mean, it took time, Peg. I wanted to get this done in my 20s, but it took this amount of time. It took what it took to
Yeah.
get to where I'm at, and I feel like I am peaking at what I'm supposed to be
Yes.
doing.
Yes. And I do believe that happens. It can happen at any adult age, but it happens when we're ready. The teacher appears when the student's ready. And yeah, I found gold, for me, they helped direct my life, but it wasn't always like these big, hairy goals all the time. It was these smaller goals. I want to look at life through a more positive filter. I want to not make everything about me. And I would like to genuinely reach out and connect with someone else and learn more about them and be genuinely interested in it without any expectation of anything coming back to me. Because everything was in my household growing up, it was a transaction. And I don't want to live my life like that. And I love my family. It wasn't that they did what they had been taught. And it's very much, I'll do this for you if you do this for me. And I think in our recovery world, we have found a lot of people that do give from their heart authentically without expecting anything in return. I do believe you're one of those people. And I think that making daily choices, making better relationship choices, whether it's a friendship or a special relationship, and just looking at how can I contribute more? how can I give more? Because that is when I felt the most fulfillment, was when I was genuinely reaching out to others and doing what I could to help them, and not in a codependent way where if I do this, this will make me feel better. It was, I want to do this because I care about this person and I want them to be okay in the moment, okay in this moment, whatever the issue was, whatever I could do. And I was at an appointment this morning or this afternoon, and I was filling out some paperwork, and I'm sitting there and I hear, I think it was the receptionist, I hear this absolutely gorgeous singing. And I'm like, why am I? And so I went to my appointment and I left, and I was just about to leave the office, and I turned around and I said, who is the singer? Because there was two women, and I couldn't tell which one it was. And I think the other lady said, oh, she's the one that's going to be like on American Idol or whatever the show was that she was referring to. And I said, you have a beautiful voice. Thank you. You should sing more often, because it was just a beautiful melody. And she just lit up, and I was so happy because she made my day, because I heard some beautiful singing. And I thought, it's just really those little choices that we make all day, that it's like, it makes me feel better to acknowledge a gift that another human being has.
Yes. And that sounds like part of your purpose and part of our purpose is to see people, value them, and notice what the good they're doing in the world. That's a wonderful purpose. If that's just your simple, like you're in early recovery and that's all you can do is just smile at the clerk that's checking you out and say, you having a good day? That's good.
Mm-hmm.
So these deeper questions, Peg, I had to ask myself, what is my North Star? If my life could stand for something, what would it be? And these questions came up for me, and I started to realize that I think this is why when you can find a way, and this is my story, my wounds, I've turned my wounds into wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And then I made a job from it. I mean, that's lucky, okay? A lot of people don't get that. You go back to your regular job, you do your thing. But I was a work in progress here, and I was able to cultivate and create this way of living. And my mission is to use my story and my compassion to help others feel less alone. And then with that, I went further, and I started to realize that we can do all we can to try to heal ourselves with our traumatized brain from our addiction. We're never going to heal the traumatized brain with our traumatized brain. What we need is to help heal the body. And that is when I began to believe in myself. Because before, I didn't feel like I had the right to even be a therapist, because I didn't feel regulated enough where I could hold space for you, because I was always being kind of triggered by your stuff. I didn't know how to hold that space. So what I learned, how to hold that space to myself, I feel very self-led for you, because I'm able to share truthfully about, it's not this end destination. It's, you can do this along the way. People come to me and they say, I want to do this work, but I don't feel like I'm good enough yet. I go, you can't ever think like that. There's no peeking out. I got to be perfect to do this. I have to be perfect to be able to be a therapist, to tell you what to do. No, I can share my experience, strength, and hope. And not even just in therapy, but as a mentor, I can share this, and I can say it's okay if it's messy and it changes over time what your purpose is. That you're never stuck in that one thing. But like I said, I feel very, I have a lot of gratitude that I've been able to take all this and to make it work. And it's like my recovery has become my job. But yet I am honest and real when I can say, and I had to take time off today, I've had a rough weekend emotionally. I took today off because I now know that I am no good sitting in front of you if I'm not filled, my inner cup's not full, and I'm going to try to help you figure out what to do when I can't even take care of myself. So a lot of this has been, the purpose comes when you really do the self-care, and when you really fortify yourself, and you listen, and you send out a request. What can I do? Place me where I can be of the highest self, that I can work with all people, place me in positions where I can really be of service to this world. You know?
How you can make your personal struggles and your own difficult journey, and that evolves into a story or a way to reach others and sit with them and understand and truly understand what they're going through, and know that you can't fix anybody, but you can sit with them in their pain, in their joy, whatever, and just allow it. And I do believe that's why we were guided to recovery. I do believe it. I can't speak for anyone else, but I do know that that's been part of my purpose, is to put the glass down and stop hiding and stop hurting and start helping.
Exactly.
And to be able to say, yeah, that does. And now I understand the difference between a full cup and an empty cup and what that feels. And that contrast has really helped to open my eyes to what's important for what I'm supposed to do for the remaining time I'm here. And I do believe it's to share my own struggles with others, to let them know you're not alone. You can get through this, and you can get through it sober. And because I believe the disease of alcoholism wants us to think that we can't get through it without alcohol or drugs.
Yes.
And that is a hopeless situation. And that isn't what recovery is about. It's about hope. It's about learning. It's about giving. It's about and evolving as a human being, so that when you leave everything here that you were supposed to do, when you go, there was nothing left. You did everything you were supposed to do. I remember this interview they did when Prince passed away, and this interview with a woman, and she said, I know he got to the pearly gates, and he goes, God, I did everything I could. I left everything down there. I left nothing to chance. I gave them everything I had. And that was a beautiful thing. I loved it. And he did. Prince was amazing. But I do believe we're all supposed to do that. We're supposed to give as much as we can and leave with as much legacy as we can. It's not a fixed thing. It's not, a purpose isn't so like a fixed thing. Like what you had shared about the fluidity of your purpose. And you started with, I want to be a therapist, or I want to be a psychotherapist. And you got the help that you needed in order to be able to do that. But you layered in yoga, which is very much about being in your body and not so much in your head, but really we integrate all parts, and you let it sort of take shape. It wasn't fixed. You didn't put it in a box, and that's what's important. It's like, these are the things that I feel I need to do. And one of them for me is communication and just getting out and sharing what I can. That's part of my purpose. And it's done via this podcast and probably some other podcasts I might do. No, I will do. And you just know, because your body responds in a way that feels like, yeah, this is right. And really being in touch with that, which feels good. It feels expansive. And I also know the feeling between feeling that fulfillment and that expansion and feeling very constricted and empty. And this is an easier, softer way. It truly is.
And just to kind of sum up a little bit what we're saying here, this purpose is not about fixing the past. It's about using it. And then in this literature that there's a saying that says our darkest moments can become a light for someone else. And when we live in alignment with our values and share what we've learned, we just don't stay sober. We build a life that's meaningful and free. That's the purpose, and that's the gift. And you know what? hold on, wait, it will reveal itself.
Mhm.
And I do remember saying to that therapist who had 30-something years of sobriety, and I said, I want to become a psychotherapist. And she said, as you move along and as you gain time in sobriety, you may not. And I was like, oh, no, I am. But she's, no, you may change your mind. You may go in a different direction. I remember that conversation feeling like, how dare she say that? How wonderful that she said.
Mhm.
How wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, how dare she say that?
And, what you had shared about the clarity that came to you in your 60s. And I do think that clarity comes to us at different life stages. And with some life experience and a few 24 hours, things do become clear if we're willing to listen, look, because the clues are always there. If we pray about it, if we put it out to the universe or whatever it is that you believe in, if you put it out there and say, I really would like some direction right now, and it will be revealed to you, whether it's through a reading or a song or another human being or just watching a sunset and being in nature, it will be revealed. And I truly do believe that. If we can embrace that part of ourselves and believe that it is our own higher self is directing us, our soul, if you will. Because I do believe the soul came here for a reason. There's a purpose, right?
Absolutely. And simple and strong quote, you can't transmit something you haven't got. And then this quote says, see to it that your relationship with life is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. That's it. That's all we do. Keep it simple. Make sure your relationship with life is right, and you will not believe how all your dreams will come true. Truly.
And beyond.
And beyond. I'm excited mostly every day to wake up. I don't know what's coming at me, what's coming for me, it doesn't matter. I know I'm alive here today because I am living proof. You are living proof. We are miracles walking on on this earth, shining a light of hope and for people to see that there is another way to live.
Yes.
And we do not have to be in the bondage of addiction anymore, that we live in the light of love today.
And it is all about love at the end of the day. It's about love.
Yeah.
And with that, I love you.
I love you, Peg. Thank you for being one of my dearest friends, colleagues, and my sister, my beloved soul sister.
Yeah. Yes, that's what we are, sisters. Podcast sisters. I love it.
I love it.
And thank you all for joining us today on this episode of Recovery, the Whole Enchilada. And if you connected with today's episode, please do share it and like it and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, because your feedback really does help us shape future conversations. We love you. And remember that your recovery story, with all its flavors and its textures and complexities, matters deeply. And until next time, stay strong and keep growing.
Love you.